As Chris just mentioned off camera, time does fly. It was already 2 years ago that the whole world held their breath with rapt anticipation, waiting to see whether that OceanGate Titan submersible submarine was going to make it, the one that was visiting the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. People waiting to see whether the people are going to be discovered, whether they're going to come back before the air is supposed to run out. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. However, some people were watching that and thinking, hey, I want to try that myself someday. Shelby?
Yeah, Roman, we'll definitely talk a little bit about OceanGate in a second here, because those 4 days were really gripping, I think, for everyone, really. It was a very big deal at the time. And now what's interesting is that someone else is ready to take up the challenge, if you will, of making it down to the Titanic. So the rumors say right now, we don't have too many details yet, it's all very hush-hush, but an anonymous billionaire is actually going to make the voyage. He's investing $10 million into a submersible and is going to prepare very soon, I think, to make the journey.
Do we know the nationality of the billionaire?
We do not. We know almost nothing. We have
know if he's
knowledgeable
Silicon Valley
source.
or...
We don't know. Yeah.
You can bet on this, though. There are sites that allow you to.
Sure there
Example.
are. Sure there are.
It's kind of
I
funny.
have my
Do you know who's trending
idea.
right now? Like, who's the top candidate?
I mean, it's anyone. I saw, we just mispronounced his name earlier. Branson or Brunson?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Branson.
Yeah.
He's done some kind of like deep sea stuff before.
One person said
submarines,
Elon
right?
Musk. I don't really.
I don't think
I
Musk would
doubt
want
it.
to do it.
I don't
Okay.
think it's Musk
So-
either.
so-
I will tell you, though, the co-founder of Microsoft, the late co-founder of Microsoft, is actually
He's not
one
in the
person
running.
who did. No, he's not. But he did own his own submersible. So, like, some kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting precedent.
Wait,
Like,
are they
there
going to do
Bill
it in a
Gates?
homemade submarine again, or are they going to get like a?
I would
like
think
a-
not. Again, the details are very hush-hush. What we do know, according to a very knowledgeable source that spoke with the media, is that you would know the person's name. So this is someone who is very much in the public eye.
And when are they going down?
There's no official timeline yet,
I
but
see.
the point is the person who spoke, right, the source on the matter, was basically making the point, like, we don't want to ruin the surprise, and this person who is going to do this journey wants to make the announcement themselves.
Trump.
When the time is
They want to make the announcement beforehand or after they come up and say, "Hey
That's
guys, I saw
not
the
totally
Titanic."
clear. I hope beforehand, because if something were to go wrong, it might be a little awkward to come back and say, oh, well, we did this and no one knew and now this has happened.
Wait, by the way, it can't be Trump. There's no way.
No,
When
no,
you
no, no.
hear
Zero
him
chance.
leave in his own car, the White House.
No.
You're not going to let him
No,
go
think
down.
about it. Think
to find
of
the
all that,
pineapple under the sea.
Think of all that unclaimed real estate down there, just waiting.
Okay, I'll just throw this out there too. $10 million for something like that seems very low,
I
to
was
be
just going
honest.
to say, it doesn't seem enough for all the extra safety features we're hoping is on this submersible.
Well, here's the thing, that brings us back to the whole OceanGate discussion, right? That was actually the main point, or at least one of the main points that came out of the investigation after that happened, right? So the U.S. Coast Guard actually just came out this month with their kind of final report on what went wrong overall. At the top of the list, so the Titan was actually made more so out of things like carbon fiber than titanium, which is more so typical of what these things are made out of, these submersibles. And like some other things, they also decided to, for reasons, kind of not go through the typical certification channels for this particular vehicle, the Titan, and among other things. Basically, the justification was saying, oh, well, these outside certifications, they're slowing us down. They're also, we have a very high standard to safety, so we'll just take care of it. It's kind of an interesting gray area. It's another deep discussion. But yeah,
deep.
so yes, no pun intended, right?
But I know, like, if you want to go to space, right, NASA gets involved in some capacity. Who gets involved if you tell them you want to go to the bottom of the ocean?
So here's the thing about this. I looked into this because I was super curious also, right? It works a little bit different for submarines, submersibles, than it does for, say, ships, right? So with ships, you're typically getting a vessel that is sailing from one port into another port, okay? With submarines, it's typically not that way in the sense that you're basically operating out of one specific area, and often the submersible itself is carried to a point and then descends via another vessel, right? So what happened with the Titan is essentially this. So the Titanic, the wreck of the ship is actually off the coast of Canada, right, in the Atlantic. About 12,000 feet under there, by the way. So this is not a small dive, to emphasize that point. So what happens is, because this vessel came from the US, but then it launched from a Canadian vessel in the waters of Canada, technically far enough offshore that it was like in outside territorial waters, they didn't have to follow the same strict US certification. It wasn't a law-breaking kind of situation, it was more of a gray area from what I understand.
So international waters, you can do whatever you want, basically.
More or less.
All right, well, there you have it. You know, I guess people can do whatever they want. One interesting thing I'll mention from a media perspective, this leak, anonymous billionaire, if you really want to stay anonymous, just go do it without telling anyone. Like, I feel like there's some kind of angle there we're not seeing. I wonder what's really going on here.
Yeah, I do too. It's kind of curious timing.
yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, just like, I think it's interesting because, again, you know, we're just, not that this is necessarily a causation relation, right? But this final report about OceanGate just came back, right? So, like, what's the purpose of doing this at all? You know, you're looking at, okay, fine, it's bragging rights for a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. It's also thrill-seeking. It's also marine research. You know, there are a whole bunch of reasons for wanting to do this.
Marine research.
But
That's a stretch.
actually, most of the vessels that are capable of diving to this depth at all are owned and operated by marine research companies. So that's kind of standard, I will say that. As far as I know, it's mostly the US, France, Russia, and China right now that can do it.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something about France. You just sneezed. Okay. So marine research. So let's say this billionaire takes this trip down there. He's peeking around and he sees this jellyfish and he thinks that's weird. You know, I didn't think this jellyfish would be all the way down here. He looks at it. The jellyfish looks at him. He waves at the jellyfish and the jellyfish waves back. What's going on with that jellyfish?
Yeah, we might see that happen. It's okay. So this blew my mind when I first saw it. Okay, this is full-on dystopian sci-fi movie territory. However, it's kind of cool. So what one researcher or research team from originally the University of Boulder, right, University of Colorado Boulder, is doing, and then it actually iterated over to Caltech as well. Some other people got involved. So what they're doing is in kind of an interesting workaround for this very high price tag on these submersibles to collect deep sea data, right? And especially in these places that are very inaccessible typically to, you know, manned vessels or even unmanned vessels. So the solution to this is basically to strap on some electrodes to a moon jellyfish and steer it all the way down to the bottom of the ocean to collect data.
Is there a name for this?
That is
yet?
actually what's happening. No, so the project is very kind of early stages. It was first tested in 2020, I believe. Actually, right outside Woods Hole, Massachusetts, for anyone who knows that, there's a really, really internationally renowned research marine facility out there. I used to spend a lot of time taking the free tours as a kid. Very cool place. Anyway, yeah, so basically that's what's happening. It's still in its early stages yet, but if you take a look at the pictures, we'll have to throw some up on screen, but it's really interesting. They have these very, very lightweight, ballast, buoyant plastic, you know, pieces that get adhered to the bell of the jellyfish, right, with some wires that attach in. And the thing about moon jellyfish, right, they're very energy efficient. They're actually one of the most energy efficient animals in the world. So, and they also have no pain receptors. So that's the other thing.
So they're still alive.
Yes, they're very much alive.
What could this Frankenfish do, hypothetically? So let's say you're like, can you actually have it wave back? And like, can you put a camera in there so you can see what's going on?
So right now, here's what it can do. It can move vertically, and that's about it. There is no directional steering, although the next step in the project and in the research, as I understand it, is to be able to have that
It's a remote-controlled jellyfish.
It's like a Tetris piece. It just goes up and down. Like,
You know what this reminds me of? You ever see those experiments they were doing on like dolphins? They were doing like military experiments on dolphins for like naval warfare
controlling
stuff.
them?
They were trying to do all kinds of
based on
stuff
the
with them.
sounds
Yeah,
that they were
trying to do they were doing all kinds of experiments, and they never really succeeded.
Well,
then the researchers got really weird, so they shut the whole thing down. It's a long story.
Why are the jellyfish?
Do you know this story?
Yeah, I know some of it because I watched some videos on it. But long story short, there's a researcher who like filled a house with water and like lived with like this dolphin and took huge amounts of drugs with the dolphin and believed he could communicate with it.
Oh, so they were using drugs to achieve this purpose.
Well, that particular researcher was. I think he was going off on his own a little bit.
Now, was this a researcher or was this an at-home pharmacist?
I'm convinced at this point that they just call anything they want scientific research. It gives them like carte blanche to do whatever the heck they want.
Right.
Like honestly, in the future, they're going to be talking about these remote-controlled jellyfish experiments and laughing about it.
It's already happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, actually, it is probably already happening. Wasn't there a French nuclear power plant that was attacked?
Yes, unrelated to the, steerable jellyfish, though.
Or so we think.
How were they attacked?
So basically, as I understand it, right, this massive swarm of jellyfish descended upon the area through which the water that cools the nuclear power plant, feeds into.
Wait, so France was attacked by a horde of jellyfish?
Indeed, it was.
Or they're trying to make radioactive jellyfish because their thing will work better if they glow more down there, or they make super
interesting
jellyfish.
This is a bit of a leap here.
Okay, hold on. What's the official story? The official story is that it's just like a random jellyfish,
There's
swarm?
jellyfish bloom.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
these are animals that have kind of minimal ability to steer themselves, right? In even the best circumstances. They don't have brains. They have a very different kind of muscle, electrostructure that triggers how they swim. It's very limited, right? So they're mostly carried by the current. So when the current sweeps a certain direction, they get carried with it.
Okay, so you're saying it's completely unrelated that there's this research about attaching electrodes to jellyfish and controlling them by state actors, and a French nuclear power plant was attacked by a swarm of jellyfish.
As far as we know.
All right, there you have it. I guess, the last thing I've written down here is radioactive shrimp. What's that? How does that fit in?
Do you want to take that one?
Okay, long story short, they had a contaminated batch of shrimp that was discovered. It was being sold at Walmart. And the U.S. government, they put a warning label out. Interestingly, they're not quite sure if it came from the production facility. I believe it was Indonesia. But on that point, they don't know if it was an actual contamination there or during transport. I read all kinds of different takes on it. Some people believe it was maybe the shipping container had been contaminated.
We know how they discovered it? I mean, is this something they're regularly testing for?
They don't talk about it. They didn't detail that too much. What I understand is there are systems in place at ports to watch for people sending nuclear weapons or whatever. So, if they have things to detect for that, it set off some alarms.
So the shrimp might have been a dirty bomb instead of food contamination.
Maybe.
Right.
Well, okay, but what you're saying is, so the shrimp were giving off whatever this is, like a
And it was
light.
cesium, right?
Cesium. I think.
Yeah,
It was cesium.
Yeah, that's right.
So I heard some stories. I mean, we know what happened in Fukushima. There was a nuclear catastrophe. Some people are worried about eating the tuna that migrates from Japan, and because they could be exposed to some of the cesium that came out of the plant. So I'm wondering if these were migratory shrimp.
Well,
if
so
they're from
here's the
Indonesia,
thing.
it's
So
quite a distance.
I did read about the quantities. There is environmental pollution that you would have, something like that. This was higher than those levels. So this was there was some kind of more direct contamination. They're still investigating it. We don't know. They did just recently announce that apparently the problem's bigger than they thought it was. We don't know how big, but so we'll find out. They're still looking into it.
All right, so that's completely unrelated to the cyborg jellyfish or the nuclear power plant.
So we think.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. If you eat shrimp,
Unless the
maybe
jellyfish attacking the nuclear power plant,
Hey.
maybe take a break for a little bit eating shrimp, right? What
For
store was it?
now, just to be clear, the cyborg jellyfish are only up and down steerable, and they basically just are collecting ocean data that you would from a normal probe. Things like pH, water pressure, these types of things.
How do they
Just
collect
to be clear.
that?
So there are some small sensors embedded in basically what this
They really cyborged out this
attached.
jellyfish.
Oh yeah, the image is pretty striking.
I can just imagine if you're a jellyfish and you have a jellyfish kid and you're like, oh,
The
what have they
device
done
is
to my boy
removable, though.
over here?
They can remove it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to remove it from the jellyfish. Yeah, to spare it. Okay, anyway, there you have it. Stay away. What store was it that was selling the shrimp?
Walmart. It was one particular type of breaded shrimp.
All right, stay away from the breaded shrimp from Indonesia if you partake. All right, I know exactly what you're thinking. That was a great clip you just watched. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to follow and also check out either these videos or maybe they're on this side. I don't know which side they're on, but we set it up so these are the videos that YouTube is suggesting to you as the best ones that you'll probably like the most. So check them out, this side,